But I want to go back to what you were saying. There's people who will be like, oh, well, I want to be able to say what I want to say. And you're like, well, then stay single. And I think that's part of the problem is that one of my favorite scriptures, like all of them are, is the Bible says, don't think of yourself more highly than you ought.
Yeah.
And when you're saying, I want to be able to say what I want to say, it's like you're basically saying that, everything I say is great and I'm better than everybody. And so, I'd rather be alone because nobody's as good as I am. You know what I'm saying? Like you're essentially just elevating yourself and you're not thinking that, but your words are demonstrating the pride that's really inside of you. Nobody's good enough for me.
You're one of the singles.
Well, but here's the thing. Well, no, I wouldn't even say that they don't need a relationship. They don't recognize their need for a relationship.
Yes.
If you're thinking that, it's like you're unwilling to change and you don't realize that you just really have a really deep pride issue.
Yes.
And the only thing that's going to really break it is relationships.
Yeah.
Is being amongst people that will tell you, hey, like the way you're thinking about that or what you just said, that is messed up. And yeah, you should be able to say whatever you want to say. That's, say whatever you want to say. But when we're in relationship, when we're in community, when we're amongst other people, we recognize that everything that I say isn't healthy. Everything I say isn't good. Everything that I say doesn't necessarily build another person up. And so doesn't mean I should say it. Like I should learn to tame my tongue, right?
Absolutely.
That's a healthy thing. Because the things that are coming out of our mouths, like if I say everything that comes out of that's in my head and let it come out of my mouth, man, I'm going to tear down everything.
You're going to set fire to the place.
So I just think.
If you feel like you must say it, you absolutely have to get it out, write it in a journal.
Yeah. or sleep on it and then say, and consider maybe you say it the next day. And I found a lot like that has been so helpful for me where there'll be things that I want to say, and whether it's with my wife or whether it's with my kids. And sometimes I know like, okay, experience has taught me this might not go well. So I can say this, but this might not end well, but it needs to be said, right? So I'll be having that experience where I'm like, it needs to be said, but this might not go well. So what I've learned to do is what doesn't need to be said right now.
Yes.
And a lot of times,
that way.
Well, because sometimes I'm attached to the way it needs to be said, right?
That's pride.
Which is pride, yes, I agree. But sometimes you need to say things in a certain way. But what I've learned is everything that needs to be said and needs to be said how it needs to be said doesn't always need to be said when I want to say it.
Yes.
Right? And so sometimes I've just learned what can be healthy for a relationship is that I don't say the thing that I feel needs to be said that's going to help bring clarity or help bring structure. I don't necessarily need to say it today.
Okay, give me an example. What you mean?
Yesterday.
I knew it. I knew it.
What was I going to say? So tell me the situation. I don't think you know.
About the room? The office?
Nope. So
you
don't know. You ain't know nothing.
Is it about the outfit?
You think about yourself more highly than you ought.
Is it about the outfit?
No, it's not even about you.
Oh, what is it?
All right, so we had a situation with one of my kids. And I was telling my child, I'm trying not to disclose who it was, so I'm not going to say gender. I was telling my child, we were going through a situation and there was some correction that needed to be done. Okay? But the situation was very delicate. And in the past, I probably would have just said everything right then. And I think that moment would have caused them to kind of pull away a little bit more and not want to trust me with those delicate moments.
Yes.
And so I think I've learned, and I think the Lord has kind of been showing me, and I was just like praying just through it, like to recognize those delicate moments, and everything doesn't have to be said today. So today, just allow the moment to be peaceful, loving, affirming, and don't worry about the correction. Because if you do the correction a week from now, it'll have the same effect as if you do it today. Or actually a better effective than if you do it today. Because you're trying to do it all in the same moment. And sometimes when you do it all in the same moment, a person can't receive it all because it's like, man, I really need compassion right now. You're giving me, discipline. And so I had to refrain against my nature, against my fleshy nature. I had to refrain from doing the discipline.
Yes.
I had to refrain from doing the correction. I had to refrain from having a conversation about what were you thinking? And just love and affirm and say, hey, like, I'm so sorry that this is happening. Hey, you didn't do anything wrong, and hey, just do all the loving and affirming things so that my child feels embraced, my child feels loved and supported.
You said all those things?
No, I'm just kind of summarizing it, right? And
as
the Lord was telling me, you still have to do the correction. That has to happen. But it can happen tomorrow. It can happen a week from now. It can happen a month from now. Maybe not a month because, I don't want too much time to pass. But it doesn't just have to happen today.
And they're also doing their own correction.
Right. And that's the thing. We think that we have it all together and that people don't self-correct. Yeah. Like, you self-correct. I self-correct. Why do I think my wife doesn't self-correct? She's probably beating herself more than I would.
Usually, yeah.
With my words. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes...
Your words just... I'm like, oh.
Yeah, sometimes the loving approach of, hey, you know what? It's okay. Hey, we're going to get through this. You know what I'm saying? Just put your hand on it like hey, we're gonna get through this.
Let's have it.
And inside, and let's be real. Inside, you might be feeling, like
what was she?
That was so dumb. Like, right? like why did she do that? That was so dumb. And then, but if you lash out in that moment, it's causing strain on the relationship. It's causing a lack of trust. It's gonna impact the communication. It's gonna make her or the other person not want to trust you with their emotions, not want to come to you in difficult moments. They'll try to keep those things away from you so that those conversations don't have to be had. That's something I had to learn. I wasn't wired like this. I'm like, listen, because if I'm doing something, I'm okay with somebody. Maybe I'm not okay with somebody correcting me in a moment. I was gonna say I was.
You do.
I'm not. I don't like it.
Oh, man.
I really don't like it.
You don't like anyone correcting you, period.
But my mom, she was very, everything was a correction. To this day, everything is a correction. And while I appreciate her insight, her wisdom, it's also sometimes very hard to hear it because one, I'm doing my own self-correction. Two, the thing you're trying to correct me on, I might have already tried it, right? And I think the older I get, it's like the more she and I interact. It's like, yeah, I've tried that. It's not often that something new comes up, because I've lived a lot of life now. You know what I'm saying? And so,
and I think that goes to the point of what we're talking about of how our family dynamics impact us, right?
Yeah.
You just described what.
No, so that was my point. That was my point.
Exactly.
That was exactly my point. Go ahead, you can say it now.
Go ahead, finish.
No, I was saying that was my point. And so, because I grew up in that kind of environment where kind of seemed like even if I did something right, I could have done something better. Mm-hmm. I came to my marriage even if my wife didn't do anything wrong, I wanted her to do it better according to how I do things.
Yeah.
And I just had to learn, she is not me in her way. If it's not hurting anybody, it's okay. It might not be my way. And I just learned to be okay with that. And just sometimes I used to walk away and be like, oh, God, she's doing this the hard way. Right?
The hard way for you.
No, it'd be the hard way, period. Because it's like, oh my God, you're going through so many steps for something that could be done so much easier if I just step in and tell you how to do it easier. But I learned, it's okay if she's doing it the harder way. Maybe she'll get to the point to where she realizes it just wasn't worth the tension.
And it's also crippling. It cripples.
I crippled you? You don't walk with a limp. You emotionally have a limp? You have an emotional limp?
Is this a safe space? It was a little crippling for a long time because what would start to happen is I would second guess making decisions. It became hard for me to make decisions because I'd be afraid, how do I know I'm doing the wrong way? And so what would happen is I'll just come to you and be like, hey, what do you think? What do you think I should do this? And now you're like, just go ahead.
No,
and I'm
just
oh
do
my
it.
gosh, no, I can't do it.
It'd be little things. I'd be like, yo, just do it. However you do it. I don't.
It's your fault.
So now I'm realizing
you created that environment.
I want the whole world to see. I'm so sorry.
No, it's
listen.
hard.
Allow me to have this moment. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry for all the years of just correcting you when you weren't even wrong, just because you weren't doing things my way or the way I would do them, because I thought I had a better way. I was so prideful. I still am.
A few moments.
But I was very prideful. Yeah. Didn't even know it was pride, but I'm acknowledging my pride. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
I forgive you.
please, and please just feel free
to just do it myself.
Do
no,
things.
Again.
Am I apologizing now for my sake or hers, right?
For your sake. I do call you for everything. I'm
you
like,
call me for everything.